We want to turn now to some big developments in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. The prosecution expected to rest its case tomorrow in that trial. And in court today, the jury shown multiple text exchanges and explicit video evidence of those so-called freak-offs. Combs stands accused of sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation for prostitution. He has pleaded not guilty to all the charges. I do want to bring in NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Melas and NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos. And Chloe, the big headline there that we really didn't mention was that they're now going to rest this case and they're not going to call any witnesses?
I mean, this is so different. I mean, Combs' team said a few weeks ago that they needed a week and a half, that the prosecution, we've talked about this a lot, Danny, that the prosecution had changed the way that things were going. They took such a long time that they had to rejigger their strategy. And then just recently they said that they would shorten that. They don't need a week and a half. They only needed about 2 to 3 days. So today, when I was at court to learn that they're not calling any witnesses, I was absolutely shocked. And the thing is, though, is that they do plan to enter some stipulations and some evidence of their own tomorrow. And I knew that Combs likely wouldn't testify in his own defense, but to not call not even a character witness or an expert, I find surprising.
So, Danny, walk us through here. What does this mean for the defense? Do they feel they're so confident in their case, or should we see something else here?
No, I'm going to let you in on a little secret of the defense bar.
Yeah.
This happens all the time. My last federal trial, I submitted a witness list of maybe a dozen. I called 0.0. The defense frequently rests by and calls not one witness, and there's a reason for that. We, as the defense, never have the burden. You have to understand that it's not us trying to counter their witnesses. We can rest on the defense and just say they have not proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Consider that every witness the defense calls is a potential landmine, especially when it is the government that always has the burden and the highest burden in our law, which is beyond a reasonable doubt.
But does that express some kind of confidence, though, that you don't have to call a single witness, that you don't have to clarify anything? You've done your job up to now.
No, I would think of it this way, because I'm sure there are witnesses they would love to call, but the risk is just too great. You can't call a witness without that witness being cross-examined. So what happens is this is a game-time decision. You put your witnesses on the witness list, and as the case goes on, you counsel with your other attorneys and the defendant, and you say, do we need to put on a case? And often that decision isn't made until the last day of the government's testimony. But there is an added bonus, Tom, and it's that by not revealing that, by holding your cards close to your vest, you do cause the prosecution to have to prepare for all of those witnesses. So there is a tactical advantage. Here's one person, though, that the defense always knew they were never going to call, and Chloe already revealed it. It was Sean Combs. He was never going to take the stand, but you saw that they even said he wants to. They do. We defense attorneys do that all the time.
So, Chloe, explain, when do we think the jury will get this case?
Right. And I just have to say, like, I'm surprised they didn't even call one person to try to say that Combs is a good guy, or somebody that worked for him who said we weren't running a RICO conspiracy. But Danny was like, if you call someone to say he's a good guy, you're going to play that video of Cassie Ventura being brutally beaten in that hallway over and over.
But that's a good point. Why not call any character witnesses, or you don't have to?
Oh, no. Character witnesses would be a terrible idea for Sean Combs, and here's why. Here is the rule. The prosecution can never introduce evidence of the defendant's bad character. The defendant can introduce evidence of his good character. But as my law school professor described this rule, it's the dump truck rule. Beep, 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 as the dump truck backs up. Because now that means that if you choose as the defense to introduce what you think is good character, they now open the door and can introduce all kinds of awful evidence about your bad character. And Combs has a lot of bad character, the worst character.
And they've done that for 6 weeks, almost 7. As for your question, the closing arguments are going to take place on Thursday. It's going to spill over into Friday morning, but the jury is going to get the case Friday afternoon. And you can imagine that it will have been 7 weeks at that point, that they want to wrap things up before the 4th of July, go back to their families. You know, so many of them have had different family things, either that they've had to miss. They even let court go early one day so that one juror could go to her child's graduation. But again, they have 5 counts to go through, a copious amount of data, a bunch of stuff that's been revealed over the last several weeks, that this is not going to be fast.
Yeah, I do want to ask you, Danny, we've seen everything. We now know how this is sort of going to play out before the jury gets it. Did the prosecution make their case?
I think they made their prima facie case. Now, don't take my prediction because I'm wrong all the time. I think they put in enough evidence to secure a guilty verdict. However, a lot depends on credibility. And some of these witnesses may not have been perfectly credible to these jurors. But do they have sufficient evidence in at least that a jury could conclude guilt on all counts? I believe so.
I don't. I think it's going to be split. So
Okay. What do you think, a mistrial?
No, I think they're going to
jury?
find him guilty on transportation to engage in prostitution, both counts, not guilty on RICO conspiracy, maybe guilty on one of the 2 counts of sex trafficking.
Okay.
So I've said it
Go
here.
with Chloe.
I put
Go
my
with-
weight here.
The law firm of Cevallos and Melas, we appreciate having you guys here.
love it.
Thank you
Rhymes.
for that. We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.